about the U.S. Attorney? No, it's not his power. Well, how about the President of the United States? No, he's not a grand jury. It must be Congress. No, Congress does not have the power of a grand jury. Now I know it. It is a 9 justices set on the U.S. Supreme Court. But they don't have any power. That's upon presentment or indictment of a grand jury. I said, so let's not talk about what Ron Branson believes. Let's talk about what the U.S. Constitution states. Now, I don't disagree with what the Constitution states. What I disagree with is the presumption of our founding fathers that said, we all know that there are 12 men on a grand jury. We all know that it takes all 12 of them to convict for any crime. We all know that the jury has the power to judge both the law and the fact. And the grand jury, yes, we know that they have to be consulted first and get the permission for government to exercise any power. Remember, all power of government is by consent to the governed. And where do they get consent? Well, part of it is right from the grand jury. If they don't get the consent of the grand jury, they can't convict anyone on a high crime. There's only 2 types of crimes mentioned in the Constitution. It's high crimes and misdemeanors. If it isn't a misdemeanor, it's a felony. If it isn't a felony, it's a misdemeanor. Where do we find in the Constitution any authority for the class of crimes we now know of as infractions? Infractions, you don't get a jury trial. You don't even have the right to the assistance of counsel. You have none of the trappings under the Constitution. It's just it's unidentified, but because it's been that, it became law in 1970 by the legislature of the state of California because they said, gee, if we didn't have to get jury trials, we could save a lot of money. We'd get a lot of convictions, and we wouldn't need to hold these juries. I don't fault the Constitution for what it says. I fault the Constitution for what our founding fathers thought that we should have all known. But they may have known it, but today, 2011, we're debating over this issue. We have people who are giving out information in front of courts on the power of the jury, and they're getting arrested. My friends have been arrested for distributing literature, just telling them what the constitutional powers that they have to judge both the law and the facts. And they've been put on trial for the crime of informing the people. You have to realize that everything in this country is an illusion. It's all a lie. It's all backwards.
I have the Citizens Rule Book, and it's got our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, the Communist Manifesto, and if you hand this to a potential juror, they're talking about arresting you. That's exactly what they're doing, because this has the rights of the jury in it, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. Here's what I propose, which I have done in jail for judges. I've looked at this thing from the fine problem, and I created a special grand jury by the initiative power. Our Constitution in California, as in several other states, says, Article 2, Section 1, all political power is inherent in the people. They, the people, have the right to alter and amend their government whensoever they deem it necessary in the public good. Now, you analyze that. All. That's absolute. All power. Where does it lie? Does it lie within the legislature? Does it lie with the judges? No. It lies with the people. All political power is inherent, and you don't get that from the legislature. It's inherent, God-given, inherent in the people. And they, the people, have the right, not a privilege, the right to alter and amend their government. So I said to this group, I said, now, if the government is a government that we don't approve of, I said, whose fault is it? But the fact is, the reason we have a so-called government that we have is because we have set our laws and we have not asserted our rights. We, the people, have the right to alter or amend our government whensoever we deem it necessary in the public good. Well, if I asked this nation, I said, how many of you would like to have a better government than we have right now? If everybody could raise their hand here, we'd have millions of people. But it seems like people don't understand what I'm saying. Well, what are you saying, Ron? You saying we could change the government? I said, yes, that's what it's intended. We can use the initiative process and put an initiative on the ballot to create the special grand jury that our founding fathers had hoped to leave with yet. But what's happened is our grand jury today has been legislated out of existence and made dependent upon the prosecutor.
Yes.
You got the prosecutor sitting in there advising the grand jury of what their powers are. Now catch this. Our greatest power in the hands of the people is selected by the judges. They pick who's going to sit on the grand jury. And guess who advises them? The very entity of which the grand jury is supposed to protect the people's law is the prosecution. The prosecution has to go to the grand jury and present their case, and the grand jury decides whether they're going to pass down an indictment or not. Furthermore, the grand jury is not only a shield against the people, from the people, but it's also a sword to go after the government. But how many times do you hear about the grand jury today going after the government? You know what they've done here in California? I'm sure they've done it throughout this country. The legislature passed a law that said the grand jury has no jurisdiction to investigate judges. Oh my goodness. Well, we have an entity, a branch of the government that's above the law, above and outside the reach of the people, because they can only be investigated by government. Well, hey, you got government investigating government. No wonder we're in the crazy mess we're in. And I have to fault the people because they're not listening. I started jail for judges back in 1995, although back then it was called Judicial Reform Act. And I pointed out exactly the problems that we're having today. And I predicted in 1996 that if we go the direction or continue going the direction we're going to go, where we're now going, we will find our complete collapse of our economy. People being made homeless. They'll lose their homes. They will lose their businesses. People will lose their jobs. You're going to see America destitute. Now that was in 1996. 11 years later, 2007, it all came to pass. And I tell you, by prediction, that we haven't seen the worst of it yet. The worst is yet to come, because we're going to have in this country an economic tsunami. So great. We don't see in these third world nations people living in tents and on the street and trying to scrape up rats and cockroaches to eat. Well, I know I sound like a crazy person, but I'm just telling people you better be prepared, because this is the direction this country is going.
Let me play something here, and hopefully people can hear it. Actually, let me take this off for just a second. This is from Dylan Radigan, and it's I had this up right before you came on, and what he's talking about is exactly what you just brought up. The name on this video is "Where Are the Handcuffs?" Can you listen to this for just a second?
Wall Street, for that matter, a lot in the media, would have you believe that the answer is complicated, difficult to figure out. But history shows us otherwise. Back to the savings and loan scandals of the 1980s and 1990s. Half of the country's savings and loan associations went bust, the government stepping in to the tune of an estimated $87.9 billion. And thousands, yes thousands, ended up behind bars.
Former savings and loan chief Charles Keating faces up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine.
Between 1990 and 1995, 1,852 S&L officials were prosecuted. More than half of them jailed. On top of that, more than 2,500 bankers were sent to the slammer, often for S&L-linked offenses.
That kind of reminds me of that old lawyer joke. What's 100 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean? A good start.
Right.
But these banks are, now this was back in 1990. They have solidified their control and taken more. Hang on, we got to take a break. We'll be right back with Ron Branson. Be right back, folks.
Can you handle the truth?
Being a part of Life Change Tea has been an exhilarating experience. I love the testimonies. Julie in New York writes, I love this product. I feel great. It worked immediately. You can feel the cleansing right away. Other products don't work right away like this one does. Mrs. Luella from Missouri writes, my daughter has lost 27 pounds. She loves the tea. And David from Tennessee writes, my wife has a lot of digestive problems and the tea really helps her a lot. I like it too. And here's my favorite from CJ in Minnesota. He writes, this stuff really works. No, I mean it really works. No, I mean it really works. Be one of the many testimonies that we receive every month. Order today online at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. You know the number, 928-308-0408. Be our next testimony. You love us, and we love you.
The views and opinions expressed on this network by the host and their guests do not necessarily reflect the views of Liberty Broadcasting Network, its sponsors, affiliates, or hosts.
The U.S. dollar is in so much trouble. According to the international forecaster Bob Chapman, he says the dollar in 2010 lost 23% of its value. Silver is one of the smartest things you can get to make sure that you are ready for whatever the economy may do in 2011 or 2012. Call Paul Drockton. His phone number 330-636-6292. Tell Paul that CJ sent you. Getting a hold of this is your way of getting prepared for whatever the economy may do, whatever the dollar will do as the financial collapse continues to happen here in America. Ben Bernanke says a slow collapse is what they want. Tim Geithner says that America is insolvent. Getting silver is one of the best things you can do to get ready for whatever the dollar will do, whatever happens with the economy in America. Call Paul at 330-636-6292 and tell Paul you want some silver. Tell him that CJ sent you. Again, 330-636-6292.
Can you handle the truth?
Jim Phillips, he's a talk show host that joins RJ every Monday. He swears by Jim's Jungle Juice as his way of going camping and taking food with him so he doesn't have to start a fire. This wheatgrass juice with barley and spearmint is an awesome way to take a spoonful or two, mix it with a glass of water, and it's a meal. Wheatgrass and barley and mint, an all-natural process where it's grown on 8,000 acres of land without any chemicals, without any pesticides. This is on the shelves in California. This live wheatgrass instant juice, you can get it for just $20 a jar. In California, it's on the fancy shelves for $30 a jar. It's 90 days worth of meals available to you for $20 a jar, plus $6 a jar for shipping. Call 435-283-3733. That's Jim's Jungle Juice or the Real Life Instant Juice. It's food storage. It's a meal in a jar available to you for just $20 plus $6 for shipping. Call 435-283-3733.
Hell yeah, America's Most Wanted. Can you handle the truth? That's LBN, your #1 choice in political talk radio.
My daddy served in the army. We lost his right eye, but he flew a flag out in our yard. Till the day that he died, he wanted my mother, my brother, my sister, and me to grow up and live happy in the land of the free. Now this nation that I love is falling under attack. A mighty sucker punch came flying in from somewhere.
All right, we're back. Hang on. Away from the mic, I'll be right back here. Just had to get my jungle juice here. All right, we're back. We're talking with Ron Branson. And Jail for Judges is the website. How's it going, Ron? What kind of, you've got this, you're trying to put this out as a national organization. Now, the internet, I found out, I thought the internet I'd be able to reach a lot more people than I ever did just on shortwave, satellite, or print. And it hasn't quite done that. Because I am blocked on websites. If you try to pull up Free American in a library, you're told it's a porno site. What's happening on the internet? What kind of membership? What kind of support have you got in Jail from Judges? What kind of interest here?
Well, the way I look at this is we have a real spiritual problem. From the Bible, Hosea 4:6, it says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee." I've been at this Jail for Judges for 16 years. In all of 16 years, I have never gotten a salary for my time. I got a pittance money that came in to keep the lights on, that's it. We've been able to survive. But I grew on the internet. I used to reach about 60,000 people. Somebody pulled the plug on me. My website was taken down. Jail Judges went dark. All the emails were gone. And basically, since that time, I've been limping along. Somebody just does not want to be on the internet. They just do not want this message of judicial accountability to the people gotten out. One of the things I find among the Patriot movement, and I classify myself as a Patriot, I get disgusted sometimes with the Patriots, my own allies, friends, because they don't pay attention. They're so easily distracted, they run down rabbit trails, they try to chase after everything that's what I call symptoms, and not what the problem is. I sound quite dismissive, and I admit to that. God has called me to make a means, a way for this nation to escape. Our founding fathers intended that the greatest power in this country would rely in a grand jury. I had people that tell me, well, wait a minute, the grand jury's against us. They indict us and we go to prison because of these grand juries. While they're talking about the grand juries that the people who have allowed to become, the grand juries are nothing more than a hammer in the hand of the prosecution and designed and run by the judges of this nation. We got just the opposite. It should be the grand jury that should be the check against the prosecution. That should be in justice. But yet we have, everything is reversed. Until we get back to what our founding fathers perceived as what the grand jury is supposed to be made of, and this is why I created the initiative Jail for Judges, because if we vote in through the initiative process and create an amendment to the Constitution, a special grand jury that does nothing but hold hold judges accountable to their oaths of office and to the Constitution they have sworn to uphold, and to laws in pursuance thereof, we would turn around this whole country. The judges have created for themselves the doctrine of judicial immunity. Judicial immunity simply says that we are a judge and you can't go after a judge. He's not accountable, you can't sue him. Even in the write-ups of cases concerning judicial immunity, they do say that a judge does not have judicial immunity if, in fact, outside of his jurisdiction. Hey, but I've been involved in the judicial system bringing cases since 1982, and I found that the judges implicitly act in complete and total absence of all jurisdiction. But yet, guess what happens? Judge B says that Judge A has judicial immunity, even if you argue that he didn't. And this goes so far as I'll give you a real example. I sued a state court judge in federal court. The accusation of the charge was that she acted in complete and total absence of all jurisdiction. I'm going to give you a decision of a judge in federal court. This judge said, even if it be true, as Mr. Branson alleges, that Judge Schwartz did not have jurisdiction and acted in complete and total absence of all jurisdiction, she did not know that she did not have jurisdiction. Therefore, she is covered by judicial immunity. And we all hear this statement that says, ignorance of the law is no excuse. They hold it on us, right? Pro se, ignorance of the law is no excuse. You can't say, well, I didn't know what the law was. But here we have a person who's gone to law school, graduated from law school, gone into attorney practice. The judge minimal here in California has to practice law 5 years before they can ever even be considered for the bench. And if anybody should know the law, it should be judges. But here you have a federal judge saying about a state judge that she did not know that she didn't have jurisdiction. Therefore, she is covered by judicial immunity. This is so absurd and so ridiculous. I compare it to the Roadrunner and the Wiley
Coyote. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Ron. Why do we hear, and I've been hearing these stories for years, of judges saying, don't bring that Constitution into my courtroom?
Well, the point being is, if judges are not accountable to any law or the Constitution they swore to uphold, then why should they pay attention to it? Imagine, what the Lord Acton says, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Well, if you don't have to obey the Constitution, even though you, by a facade, raise your right hand and swear by an oath to uphold and defend it, but you're not subject to it, nor to any laws that are made pursuant thereof, why should you hear the Constitution? Yes, I've heard that. I've sat in the courtroom, and a patriot friend of mine, a long time, they said, if you bring up the Constitution one more time in my courtroom, I will hold you in contempt. They find the supreme law of this land contemptuous. Well, the fact is, there is no power within government except by consent of the governed. I read that somewhere, didn't I? Yes, I did. I read that. Yes, it's in the Declaration of Independence. Every power of government is conditioned upon consent of the governed. But yet, here we have the people who have the consent. I said, did you get the consent for the IRS? Did you consent for judicial immunity? The judges shouldn't be accountable for accountability. No, you didn't. Well, I said, where did they get it? They just took it. They took it by default because we, the people, believe the lie that our servants are our masters. And no man can serve two masters. yet we have converted our servants into our masters, and we say, yes, sir, master, yes, sir, what do you want me to do?
You know, our friend Carl Kling, he wrote a song, said if you have your own very own printing press and you can print your very own money, you know, pretty soon you can buy up the whole neighborhood, and that's exactly what the banksters have been doing to us.
I like your term, banksters. That's one that I've used a long time ago, banksters. That's correct. But how did the banksters get in power with their money? Well, it was through disruption, as we know how the Federal Reserve Bank came about in the first place. You realize the bankers themselves openly renounced the proposal of the Federal Reserve Bank system. And the people said, well, gee, if these bankers are against the Federal Reserve Bank system, it must be for it, because, I'm against whatever the bankers are against. Really deceived the people. Everything is a lie today. A lie is considered the truth is considered a lie. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil. Isaiah chapter 5. And put light for darkness and darkness for light. We have come to a situation where fraud is the law of the day, from front to back. And why are we in the condition we're in? Who do we look at? We'll look in the mirror. I'm trying to tell people the power is in our hands. We haven't given it up. Well, let me put it this way. We still have that power. But they don't listen to what I say. Even when I talk to patriots today, they all think, well, we got to get some good legislators in there to pass some good laws. No, we don't need good legislators in there to pass some good laws. We need enforcement of the constitutional laws and pursuance thereof, because we can attack those bad laws if indeed we have a court that's held accountable to that Constitution. We can attack all the laws that Congress can make. I made the analogy to what has to happen is what Jail proposes is we let the government handle, I'll use the illustration of a tub, handle the faucet. They can pour as much water into that tub as they want, but we, the people, control the drain. They can make all the judges and all the legislators and all the laws they want, but we control the drain. And this is what was intended by the jury system. All laws passed by Congress and signed by the president goes before the jury, and the jury has the last word and decides whether they're going to give power and effect to that law. Who do we find, who's to be faulted for the condition our country's in? Is it the government? Is it the judges? No, because we the people have the power. We absolutely have the power. I'm going to take that mission process again.
Ron,
political power is inherent in the people. They have the right to alter in their government whensoever they deem it necessary in the public good. That doesn't sound like something that we have to wait on the government for.
All right, we got a break coming up here. We'll be right back to talk with Ron Branson. And if you want to call in, folks, I would suggest that you do that on 646-915-8774. I believe we do have a caller, somebody that knows you, Ron. Hang on a minute, and we'll get to Paula in just a minute. Stay with me, Paula.
Aim the crosshairs of their guns at the end. I know a man who lives way up in Idaho.
Listening to the Liberty Broadcasting Network.
This is an emergency alert. People don't die of H1N1 infection. They die from system-wide intoxication and toxic shock. Doctors call it the cytokine storm following infection and immune hyperstimulation. Vaccines with immune stimulants or toxic drugs chemicalize your body, adding to your death risk. Prevent death and reverse diseases from infections, vaccinations, and drug toxicity. Call this number to get my free special report about the flu and what to do to save lives, maybe even your own. I'm Dr. Leonard Horowitz. Order Zeolife, the world's most powerful broad-spectrum detoxifier, immune system guard, and vaccine cleanse. Avoid vaccinations and drugs. Use Zeolife and oxysilver hydrosol instead to detox and degerm your body. Stop the shock of toxicity and preventable deaths. Call 1-888-KO-GERMS. That's 1-888-KO-GERMS.